All right, guys, it happened. Dana White dropped the big announcement. The two big events for next year have been confirmed. The Paramount era is right around the corner. I'm joined by my good friend, AB Aaron Bronsteter, to react to all the news. There's been a lot of feedback, fans trying to figure everything out. We had a lot of expectations, and now it's official. UFC 234, 235, which is going to happen in Sydney shortly after, announced by the big boss man. Before we get into any of the specifics, what was the biggest? There's a bunch of stuff that got announced that people are going to be questioning, that you and me will be breaking down. What was it one thing that surprised you? What was the thing that surprised you the most about this announcement?
I think most would be most surprised by the lightweight interim championship. But to me, the most surprising is that they didn't hold off on Kayla versus Amanda Nunes for the White House. Like, I figured that would be, when you look right now at the American stars in the UFC, there aren't a lot of them. Like, you've got Sean O'Malley, who's actually on this card, but I don't see an issue with him turning it around for June to do the White House if they want to put him on that card. But for Kayla Harrison, like, she's gone to the White House and toured, and when they were talking about plans for this event, I think she was somewhat involved. She could still fight in the White House in June, but at the same time, like, against who, right? So, if she ends up beating Amanda Nunes handily, who's she going to fight in June? Norma Dumont at the White House? Like, I feel like this was a fight that was so big that you would want to save it for that particular event in terms of, like, the historical significance of women's MMA, with Nunes coming back after it would have been, I guess, been 3 years away if she waited until June. But I guess they wanted to get this one set up. And I mean, it has been several months since Kayla last fought. I think it was International Fight Week, right? So the amount of time that's passed makes a lot of sense for this fight to happen next month.
Dude, there's a lot to break down. So for people that just are tuning in and missed the announcement, UFC 324, 325 announced. UFC 324 looks like, Aaron, is going to be headlined by Paddy Pimblett. Obviously, he's going to be taking on Justin Gaethje for the interim title. Then, like you mentioned, Kayla is going to be on there, and Nunes as well. On the card as well, for everybody that missed it, a few names: Waldo, Cortez, Acosta taking on Derrick Lewis. Obviously, he's kind of the new name in the heavyweight division that everyone's sort of excited about. Like you mentioned, Sean O'Malley, Sonia Dong, Alex Grasso versus Rose Namajunas. And of course, we also have Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Figgy as well. All in all, UFC 324, Aaron, how would you rate it? Also, people are going to be wondering, do you have any issue with the interim title being in the headline here over Kayla and Amanda? Or do you think it's just, this is the big narrative, this is the big division, this is the big money division right now?
It surprised me a little bit, given, again, the significance of Nunes coming back. I mean, Nunes is the greatest female fighter to ever do it, and feels like almost
kind of buried in there a little bit,
like a little bit, kind of dropped in there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of get where they're coming from. Like, the lightweight division has always been kind of a glory division in the UFC, and I think with Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, two pretty big names in the sport, plus a fight that, if that fight doesn't deliver the goods, I'd be very surprised. Like, whether there's an interim title on it or not. This is the thing about interim championships. I like them because you get paid to be like a championship wage, right? Like, if we want to be for the best interest of the fighters, like, I think them fighting for interim titles is good. It's good for their prestige in the future. Like, when they're out of the sport, they can say that they were a champion, whether they're an interim champion or not. I mean, Justin Gaethje's been an interim champion. Paddy Pimblett, of course, has not. But I just think that it's going to be a very fun fight, no matter how you look at it, whether you care about interim or not. Is it a fight that you would headline a pay-per-view with if there was no title on the line? Probably not. But with there being an interim championship on the line and the winner of this fight fighting Ilia down the line, like, I think that the stakes for this fight are pretty big.
You mentioned Ilia, so let's quickly talk about his tweet. I'm just trying to get it up here for those that missed it. Obviously, he was the man that was supposed to be on this card. This is the guy that we thought was going to kick off the Paramount era. This is what he had to say as I try to upload this bloody file onto the thing. And of course, we saw him give Arman Tsarukyan a friendly hug and a tap on the face earlier, just a few days ago. But he said, I won't be fighting in the first quarter of next year. I'm going through a difficult moment in my personal life. I want to focus on my children, resolve this situation as soon as possible. I don't want to hold up the division. The UFC will make the matchups needed as soon as the matters are resolved. I'll let the UFC know I'm ready to begin my return. Aaron, does this sound like the kind of man that's going to be coming back and defending his lightweight belt against the interim champion here, or is this the kind of man that is potentially looking to take on Islam Makhachev at 170 at the White House here?
It's hard to tell, right? Because
he's not
with
saying
Ilia,
this is my belt. These guys are
right.
going to fight for number 2. I'll show you know what I mean? It's almost like he's still not committed to that division.
But Ilia has always been somebody who seems to go by the beat of his own drum and just, does what he thinks is best for his career at any given time. I wouldn't be surprised if he, especially after this much time off, gets moved up to 170 pounds to fight Islam. That wouldn't make a ton of sense to me, to be honest. I think that he will end up fighting the winner of this fight. And the sad part about that is that Arman is kind of the odd man out here, because if you look at this fight in January, you got Paddy and Gaethje fighting for the interim belt, and the winner of that fighting, let's say they fight Ilia in July. Well, when's Arman going to fight? Like November at the earliest, maybe October? Like that to me is the part that is toughest for me to digest here, especially after how good he looked against Dan Hooker this past weekend, that he's going to basically be on the sidelines for like 9 to 12 months.
Yeah, so this is going to
unless he wants to take a fight, right? But when you look at the lightweight division, like who's he going to fight? It looks like they're probably going to make Max versus Charles Oliveira. I think that's a fight that a lot of people want to see, and I'd be surprised if either of those guys fight Arman instead, especially Charles, who's already fought him. But I just don't see who would make sense for Arman to face rather than just wait for a title shot.
Well, this is going to be the question in the comment section here. Did Arman Tsarukyan get screwed? Because we understand Justin Gaethje, he told Ali he's retiring. The UFC sort of owe him after all the times he saved the card. Paddy Pimblett, they strategically moved him up in the rankings because they know there's big star potential here. Do you feel like Arman got screwed here?
I think we need to learn a little bit more about the situation before we can jump to that conclusion. Like, I don't know, was he offered Gaethje or Pimblett? Because if so, and he said, I can't turn it around that quickly, then, or he said, you know what, I'm just going to wait. We can't really say that he got screwed, because I think that the UFC were proceeding with a lightweight fight on this event, regardless of who was going to be in it, right? Like, I think you have your 3 challengers.
Well, they had this, as soon as they moved Justin Gaethje up to that 5th ranking, you knew that they already had their plan in place. I mean, sorry, Paddy Pimblett to that 5th ranking.
Yeah, although it is voted on.
You knew that they had something going on
there,
no?
Yeah, I mean, it's voted on by the panel, but who moved down, right? Like, in order for him to move up, is it because somebody else lost? I haven't been following it in terms of like who he's supplanted in the rankings rather.
But you mentioned it before, like, okay, there's the interim champion. Ilia comes back, will fight the interim champion. That means Arman Tsarukyan's not even going to be the guy after the guy. He's going to be the guy after the guy after the guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the part, again, that's the toughest part for me to digest, is like, when's Arman going to get that shot? Because he certainly earned it this past weekend. He's the #1 contender. So that's why, again, I can't say that the guy got screwed, because I don't know all the circumstances and what went on behind the scenes. But on paper, like optically, it certainly doesn't look good.
Because he said after his fight in the post-fight press conference, he said, I'll just fight anybody. It doesn't have to be Ilia Topuria, and I'll fight in January. So I don't know. Like you said, we don't know what happens behind the scenes.
In January, then that's like, and they didn't offer him this fight, then that's, I think, a little bit problematic.
Yeah, if they didn't go to him and ask him, and if he didn't say, look, it's actually too soon for me, I feel like, raw end of the stick here for Arman Tsarukyan. We know the UFC just, they had to keep Justin Gaethje happy. They wanted to utilize Paddy Pimblett. Let's just quickly talk about the fight right here, man. I think for Justin Gaethje, this is such a good situation. He went from potentially having to fight Ilia Topuria here for the title, and now he's fighting Paddy Pimblett for this interim belt. It's out of all the matchups in this brutal division for Justin Gaethje, like, this is the best way it could really kind of play out, right? Aaron, this is the best for him.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I think you can say the same thing for Paddy. Like, he's not going to have to face Arman Tsarukyan or Ilia. He's going to face Justin Gaethje, who I think stylistically is not a terrible matchup for a guy with Paddy Pimblett's chin and a guy with his submission skills, because we've seen, if the fight gets to the ground, that Gaethje has been submitted in the past, right? So I actually don't mind the matchup for Paddy either. But, I mean, this is sink or swim time for Paddy Pimblett, because his best win is, Michael Chandler, right? So we've seen how good Justin Gaethje is. He's had some of the greatest fights we've ever seen in the UFC. You put him and Paddy in there, and Paddy's had some exciting fights in his own right. I think this is going to be just an awesome fight in terms of how it plays out. Like, that's the thing that, if people, if they want to complain about it, you can complain about the circumstances, but complaining about the fight itself, I think, is a silly thing to do. I think this fight has fireworks written all over it in terms of how it's going to play out.
It's insane with Justin Gaethje, because he was, a big thing through COVID. He had his ups and downs. We didn't know how long his career was going to survive for in the UFC because he was taking so much damage. And now we go into a new area and he's kicking it off. It's just incredible for his legacy, right? He's fighting for this title. He's got Paddy Pimblett. But if you look at this, we still need to break it down. We still need to dissect it. But who are you leaning one way or the other here? Is there someone that you feel has the edge? Because Paddy is younger. We've seen evolution in his game, but he's still susceptible, right? It's
Yeah,
an interesting matchup.
I would probably lean Paddy, to be honest, and I might be in the minority there. I think a lot of people are going to go with Gaethje on this one because Gaethje is a more established product. We kind of know what we're getting with Justin Gaethje, but I was actually really impressed with how well Paddy handled Michael Chandler. Like, people can talk about Michael Chandler being a little bit past his prime, but you look at how hard he fought Charles Oliveira last November, and like soon thereafter, Paddy put a lopsided beating on him. Paddy is getting better, and we need to give Paddy a lot of credit for how well he's performed in the UFC. People always point to the Jared Gordon fight. I thought that was a very close fight that could have gone either way. But at the same time, I think that you look at Paddy Pimblett and how he's performed recently, he's put it on his opponents. And I think that if he implements a similar game plan to what Charles Oliveira did against Gaethje, where if Gaethje rocks him, hurts him, go to your back and invite Gaethje into the fire and say, hey, if you don't want to get into my guard, then you're going to give me some time to recover. I think that could be a viable game plan for him against Justin Gaethje.
It's interesting, right? Because he's really grown, like he cuts a lot of weight, but he's really gotten bigger and grown into the division. He's also very durable. We saw his durability now against a number of opponents, especially Michael Chandler. This has the recipe for actually a bit of a war.
Yeah, exactly.
If Gaethje and Paddy are just, and this is kind of, you got to think like all right, this is going to be the first time, this is Paramount, first time we're seeing this. Topuria is out. This is not a bad little matchup to have to headline this new era, right?
Well, you also think about the lead up to it, where Paddy is so good on the mic and he can get people interested in what he's doing. He's got a big following. The fans seem to really like him and gravitate towards him. And Gaethje, I mean, if you don't like Justin Gaethje, you don't like the way he fights, you're probably watching the wrong sport. Like the sport just kind of makes you a little bit weak in the stomach if you're watching the kind of fights that Justin Gaethje puts on. Because Justin Gaethje, to me, like if you're gonna rank the most entertaining fighters, top 5 of all time, if Gaethje's not in your top 5, you just haven't been watching the sport or you haven't been watching his fights. Like, he should be a consensus top 5 guy in that category all time, right? I feel like a lot of people, for whatever reason, have soured on Justin Gaethje, maybe because he's like being selective of about who he's fighting. But for years he's been saying, like, I've only got a couple fights left that I can fight the way that I like to fight. And if you want Justin Gaethje to give you entertaining fights, I don't think he needs stay ready fights. He's done the UFC a lot of favors. I mentioned this, last time I was on Submission Radio with you, where he took the Holloway fight when they needed a big fight for UFC 300. He took the opponent change to Rafael Fiziev when his opponent fell out. And, he did that, even though he had just beaten Fiziev the year prior. Like, it was kind of a high risk, low reward fight for him. So I think that the UFC are finally doing right by Justin Gaethje here. And while maybe some fans don't like the merit of that, I still think that we need to appreciate everything that Justin Gaethje has done for the sport.
Yeah, if he wins, though, I hope he doesn't retire. We need him to stick around, right? We need him for a couple more. Pimblett opens up as a -198 favorite on DraftKings, and Gaethje is listed as a +164 underdog. Sound about right to you?
I think that's a little bit too wide. Even though I like Pimblett to win the fight, to me this is like an even money fight. I think that you're looking at, I guess, the recent performance of Paddy Pimblett, expecting that he's going to continue to get better. I understand why he's the favorite, and maybe you would make him a small favorite, but I think that line is going to shrink. I think if you keep an eye on where the line movement goes, I don't think that the line's going to get wider. I think it'll tighten up.
Yeah, I think that last performance against Fiziev as well. I don't think a lot of people were a little sour on Justin Gaethje on that performance, but I think, it was like last second switch up, different opponent. There's just so many questions. Where's Justin Gaethje at? Obviously, Pimblett looked so good against Chandler, but of course, Chandler is declining in his own right. It's just a lot of questions are going to be answered about the future of the division. And if Paddy Pimblett can put on a display, we're looking at a huge, huge new star in the division as well, right? Like on Paramount for the first card. I know we got Topuria, but now that makes that fight even bigger. By the way, Amanda Nunes and the big return against Kayla Harrison. They've trained together. Harrison is just so dominating, right? Like, it's hard to imagine her losing. But now you've got one of the greatest fighters to ever do it in Nunes coming back to make this fight happen. Before we go on to this whole Volkanovski fiasco in Sydney, what are you expecting from this fight? To me, this feels very even. We were talking about how the other one's even. To me, I don't know what's going to happen here, right? So hard to, I don't know what's going to happen here, man.
Yeah, I think the line came out for this fight a while ago and that Kayla's like a small favorite. And I think the only reason that Kayla would be a small favorite here is because we haven't seen Nunes in 2.5 years. We don't know what she's still capable of. But I think that if you're looking at what Nunes looked like against Norma Dumont, not Norma Dumont. Why am I drawing a blank from Mexico? Help me out here, Dennis. Her last fight, Irene Aldana. If she looks like she did against Irene Aldana, like I think she should be favored in this fight. We just don't really know what Amanda Nunes brings to the table in 2026 compared to what she did against Aldana in Vancouver when she retired. But personally, I can't wait for this fight. And I think that Nunes stylistically is not a very good matchup for Kayla Harrison. I think that this is, especially with Kayla cutting to 135, I think every fight is depleting her more and more. I do hope that she had more notice than today, than this week, that she was going to take this fight so that she can properly diet for this one. I think
Ali told me they were fighting in January, maybe months ago.
Okay.
So it seems like he was saying they're going to fight twice. It's a weird one. Like he's saying they're going to fight here, then they're fighting at the White House. I don't think that's going to happen, but
it could. I mean, if Nunes wins a close decision or Kayla wins a close decision, there's no other fights to make at 135 pounds that anybody wants to see right now. They need to build more challengers up in that division. And hopefully they can do that because I don't think that anybody's frothing in the mouth for a Kayla Harrison, Norma Dumont fight. Especially with Norma barely squeaking out a decision against Ketlen Vieira in a fight that I think most people thought Vieira won.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The weight cut is one of the biggest battles for Kayla here as she goes into this card. But, again, she gets an opportunity to be a big new star for the UFC on this card. And then Amanda Nunes and her have spent time together in the gym. It's interesting. They both kind of understand the assignment as they go in here. And like you said, here are the odds. Harrison opens as a -162 favorite on DraftKings and Nunes +136 right here. So, again, a lot of answers to be had on this event. I almost feel like we're going into this event, into this new era. We've got questions, and they're going to be answered. Just quickly, Waldo taking on Derrick Lewis. Massive fight for Waldo. I feel like Derrick Lewis is one of the last remaining names in the heavyweight division outside of Tom Aspinall and maybe Gane. Yeah, really, I think Derrick Lewis is probably one of the bigger names in the division right now.
I mean, Volkov, too. We have to
Volkov, but I feel like Volkov just doesn't have that, casual eyeballs as hard. Derrick Lewis, he's fought in main events, DC, all sorts of stuff. Beat Volkov. Okay, so going in here, do you feel like the UFC are sort of utilizing Waldo in a good way here? He gave them the favor, came in last second, picked up the win. He goes out here against Derrick Lewis. Do you like how the UFC have made this matchup, creating a new star? He goes out against Derrick Lewis. He's right in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, shout out to Jed, who on our show said that this was the fight to make. And it turned out it was the fight to make. And I agreed with him. One of the few things we agreed on that show. But I think that this is a win-win for the UFC. If Derrick Lewis ends up, knocking out Waldo Cortez Acosta, you're continuing to build up a guy that everybody loves. And if Waldo Cortez Acosta ends up winning, he's going to really, blow himself up in terms of his, his popularity by beating a guy like Derrick Lewis and how active he is. So I think really there's, not really any way that this could go wrong for the UFC if you look at this matchmaking.
I love this. So it's the narrative of the card, right? They're trying to set the standard for the divisions going forward. It's a refresh. It's a restart. Who's going to be the name? Who's going to be the hot new name in the division after this one? There's at least 3 divisions here. Also, Umar on there as well. So no doubt about it. He goes out there against Figgy, does a bang-out job. He'll be taking on Rab and stuff. So a lot of narratives here. All right, let's talk about Sydney.
Sorry to cut you off, Dennis. What about this, though? If you have O'Malley and Umar on the same card, why don't you just match them up? I mean, if you want to...
But is that the plan? Are these guys going, all right, we've only got O'Malley, we've got Umar, and, Piorian and... Obviously, Merab, they're going to fight, but Merab's going to want to fight 5 more times or whatever. Let's separate these guys. Let's create as much, separation as possible. Maybe they're thinking Piorian, if he wins, in the off chance that he wins, you just, get O'Malley straight back in there with the win. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like
I just think
that.
that
I
Umar
don't know.
versus O'Malley is a massive fight, but maybe they're
Massive
saving that
fight.
one. I don't know.
Yeah, massive fight. It's an interesting one.
Or
They
maybe
are thinking more strategically.
O'Malley's
Yeah.
team thinks this is an easier fight for him, and they need to get him a win. They want to get him
Well,
back
no
in the
doubt
recon.
about it. This is an
Yeah,
easier fight for him, Aaron. What are we talking
I
about
get
here?
it.
You
I
thinking
get it,
this
but at the
Umar?
same time,
That's a rough one.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think
I
for
mean, I guess
Umar,
so.
even as well, like Figgy is a good way for him just to kind of pick up a win and stay hot and stay active. Like Figgy's still a tough matchup, probably on a decline as well. Anyway, I guess we'll see what happens. Imagine we didn't really break down the O'Malley fight, but there's a real scenario that he loses that fight as well. So
Of
we'll
course.
see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, though. Shortly afterwards, we're going to have 325 in Sydney. It's going to be on in February, start of February. I believe it's going to be Feb 1st or 2nd here. Let me just double check.
It's Feb 1st to Australia, January 31st in North America.
Yes, that's right. Feb 1st on Sunday here in Sydney. Obviously, the government has a deal with the UFC, which guarantees them a number of pay-per-views. And at the same time, Alex Volkanovski is, there's no secret, close to retirement. He's probably got a few fights left. And the UFC want to capitalize on the fact that they get a rare opportunity to have Alex Volkanovski defend his belt in Sydney. How cool. Doesn't get much cooler than that to have Alex Volkanovski come back to Sydney, defend his belt. Obviously, the biggest name in Australian MMA, no doubt about that. Every casual person knows who he is. He's, kind of like a national dude here where everybody recognizes him on the street now. And he gets to headline in Sydney. So that's going to be the talk of the town, in a town that has like about 1 million sports, 1 million things going on. And it's really hard to break through. Now, the big contention here, Diego Lopez getting this rematch. Fans are not really happy about it, Aaron. Before you give me your opinion on it, sell me on this fight from the UFC's perspective. What were they thinking when they put this together?
Okay, well, I think that's the easy part of this, is to sell it from the UFC's perspective. So, you say the fans don't like this, right?
They're not happy.
Right now, I think what the UFC want to do with this new deal with Paramount is deliver the biggest names possible for main events to get the most people to watch it. Given that they're not going to be charging for the events outside of a subscription in the US, they want it the most recognizable names possible. You have a guy in Diego Lopez who just beat Gian Silva in what I think most people consider the fight of the year. Like if you were to poll fight fans on what the best fight of 2025 was in the UFC, I think that they're probably going to lean with Lopez versus Silva as an amazing fight. He's top of mind. Lerone Murphy had an incredible knockout against Aaron Pico. But if you're talking about who the fans know more, Diego Lopez has become a star in this sport. You also now have Paramount with a deal in all of Latin America. So having a fighter from the UK headline that event, again, if we're looking at meritocracy and we're looking at a guy who probably deserves it, I think Lerone Murphy probably deserves it. Especially given that Diego Lopez just fought Volkanovski. It was Volkanovski's last fight was against Diego Lopez. But if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, I think this is the bigger name value fight from their perspective. And you're asking from the UFC's perspective why they would put this together, and that's my answer for you.
Well, let's talk about what should be happening, what could have been happening. By the way, let me bring up the odds right here. Alex Volkanovski opens up as a -155 favorite on DraftKings
Surprising to me.
Sportsbook. And Lopez as plus 130. What do you think it should be, Aaron?
I'm surprised. I would put Volkanovski like -225. I mean, the last fight was an easy win for him. To be honest, what did Lopez win one round? Like I can't remember the scorecards, but I don't remember him having much success in that fight. So after one win over Gian Silva, like suddenly this is the most closely lined of the 3 title fights that we're talking about today. If you're looking at Gaethje and Pimblett, you're looking at Harrison and Nunes, and the most closely lined fight is the rematch of the fight we saw this year that was lopsided for one of the fighters. Like that, explain that to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm just trying to get the scorecard up for us. Let me just bring it up so we can.
Maybe it was closer than I remember, but I feel like it was like 4-1 Volkanovski on at least 2 of the scorecards.
It was definitely a dominating performance from Volkanovski, performance from Alex Volkanovski. Diego Lopez, I guess one thing you could give to Lopez is he kind of made it a fight a little bit and he kind of toughed it out. And he showed us that although maybe he's a little bit, inexperienced in these championship fights, he's got the heart to come back and, maybe be a champion one day, which he showed us in the John Silver fight. But we have people like Lorne Murphy, a fight that everybody was excited about. They wanted to see him versus Alex Volkanovski. We got Movsar in the wings as well. Why not those guys against Alex Volkanovski next?
Well, I think my explanation from why the UFC wanted to do this fight is probably the best answer I can give you. Is that they're looking for the most marketable names at the top of the championship ladder that they can build fights with for this new partnership. So I think that Lerone Murphy is unfortunately not the most interesting guy.
But doesn't he make a more compelling matchup for you?
Perhaps.
Like you could sell that.
But
like
again,
you put that spinning elbow, he knocks out, Pico, and he's like
again,
that. And
I'm not talking about it from my
front.
perspective. I think that just from the promotion's perspective, that's the way that they look at it. Like from my perspective, I think Lerone Murphy's a great fighter. I think he's probably got the best chance to beat Volkanovski of any of the fighters in the division. That includes Movsar Evloev.
The most interesting fight, would you say, out of the contenders would be Murphy right now?
Yeah, but then again, you look at that betting line, and it's such a closely aligned fight that maybe maybe I'm missing something here. Diego Lopez is like 30 years old too. So he's like at a stage in his career where he's going to be growing more and more with each camp. I get why they're giving him the opportunity again from a promotional standpoint, like why it makes sense to them. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm hoping that it's a more competitive fight than the first one.
Yeah. For Lopez, what do you think he needs to do here? Because, I see Alex Volkanovski going out there and, systematically sort of shutting down Lopez and beating him. I actually see Alex Volkanovski coming out here and doing better than the first fight because now he's got all the ring time with Lopez to get better. And the IQ for Alex is pretty remarkable. And he was able to go out there against Max Holloway 3 times and beat him.
One thing I'd love for you to pull up then is if you go to UFCstats.com, I'm curious how many takedowns did Lopez shoot against Volkanovski? Because if I recall, that was the thing that I was surprised didn't happen much in their fight, was that he wasn't trying to grapple with Volkanovski, and I thought that was probably the best path for Lopez in that fight. That was a surprise to me.
Let's have a look at that right now. It's just sort of not loading for me, which is frustrating. But if I can go here, I'll edit this out as well, Aaron. Where's our UFC? Here we go. Here we go. So having a look at the stats here, Aaron, I mean, have a look at this. We had, takedowns, 1 of 11, and Lopez 0 for 0. So,
0 takedown attempts from Lopez. That surprises me.
But do you think he could take Alex Volkanovski down?
Well, I think that if you're mixing up the takedown and if you're mixing in takedowns with your offense, you're going to open up your striking more. And I thought that his striking, when he got into those exchanges with Volkanovski figured his rhythm out rather quickly, and he did get a knockdown in the fight. But if you're mixing it up with more grappling and you're giving him more to think about, I think that's a better plan than at least we saw in the first fight. I'm sure Volkanovski will be ready for something like that, but at the same time, that was the thing that surprised me most about that performance from Lopez was that he wasn't initiating any grappling.
I mean, we saw some good grappling from Lopez against the John Silver fight, right? He was able to get into but I think that also raises questions about Silver and his preparation for that fight. But I mean, look, I think if you're Lopez, you're on the ball where he's got to be able to throw different stuff at Alex here. He can't just go out there and just implement the same Lopez game plan he did in the first fight, right? Because Alex has that data down now. He's ready to go. And he was compromised a little bit in the first fight. I think he lost some vision in his eye. Of course, that happened in the fight, but I would expect a more dominant performance from him here. Man, people are wondering, though, from Alex Volkanovski, what the future holds, right? Sydney, you go out there, you defend your title, you win. Kind of a perfect way to hang up the gloves. Now, Alex Volkanovski has said multiple times he probably does have a few fights left in him. But at the same time, he's a huge name. He's making a lot of money outside of the sport. He's got a huge family. So there's definitely why not go out on top, that mentality. Do you think there's a possibility if he goes out here and puts on a clinic against Diego Lopez, that could be the last time we see Alex Volkanovski?
Yeah, I think that would be something that would not surprise me given the circumstances, just it being in Australia. But I still think that Alexander has a lot of fight left to give. So, especially if he has a dominant performance, it's not like he has only lost once at featherweight. So I think that if he wants to establish himself as the featherweight GOAT, like he probably might already be there, to be honest, especially with
Yeah, he's
another
not the
win.
featherweight GOAT for you. What do you mean?
I mean, a
He's
lot of people would
better
say
than
Aldo.
Aldo. Better than Aldo.
Yeah,
He
maybe.
beat Aldo.
Yeah, he beat Aldo. That's true. But Aldo had a very long run as the champion.
He also had that really good fight with Islam Makhachev, which I know he didn't win, but what a great fight for his legacy.
Nobody has tested Islam Makhachev aside from Adriano Martins in the way that Alexander Volkanovski did.
Yeah, and then he came back and I think once he won the belt back with the Lopez, for me that just like solidified the fact that he's the greatest. And also, I think having to fight Max Holloway that many times is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like who can get through that? Like. Yeah, like all respect to Aldo, but he didn't have to just keep fighting Max Holloway over and over and over and winning. Yeah, man, I would love to see him fight. I think I would love to just like see him fight Movsar, Murphy, just like solidify it, like you said. But again, there has to be a reason. And I know there's the government contract. I know that, timing wise, maybe it worked out, but there's also got to be a reason why the UFC's just kind of jumped on this fight, right? And that could be potentially because they're afraid that potentially maybe this is one of the last fight, at least the last fight he'll have in Australia before he hangs it up. So, so ideally for you, if he gets through Lopez, who would you like to see him do next? Maybe like a Murphy.
I think you have Movsar face Murphy, and he faces the winner of that fight. Like I think if you're gonna put both those guys on the shelf and give the fight to Lopez, like you may as well have those guys face each other, which they were supposed to do anyways last year before Pico ended up coming in and replacing Movsar.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, it's a crazy time for fans in the sport. Obviously, Paramount Plus, no more pay-per-view for you guys. What about Canada? Is that pay-per-view still?
We're still on Sportsnet Plus here in Canada. But
okay, great.
One other thing I forgot to mention also, waiting in the wings, is Gian Silva. Like Gian Silva, I think, is kind of a wild card. He's facing Arnold Allen at 324.
That's right.
So he's on there too. Work himself into the mix too. I was just thinking about how featherweight is kind of lacking in challengers, but yeah. And I mean, let's not write off Aaron Pico just yet. I know he lost to Lerone Murphy, but that's fun to watch. I'm hoping that they give him a better kind of a bounce back match, similar to what they did with Patchy Mix, even though he ended up losing that fight. But I would like to see Pico face somebody that maybe a little bit lower ranked this time around.
Yeah, Gian Silva, Arnold Allen, that's another one of those fights. It's like, who's going to be the future of the division? Arnold Allen, who's been at the top of the rankings now for a while, hasn't fought since July last year, where he beat Giga, and he was supposed to be the new face of the division and supposed to be the new big star. What a great opportunity for him. And I think like with Gian Silva, this is really going to answer the questions that we have about him, right? Like after the Lopez fight, we're not so sure, like, is he as well-rounded and dangerous in every area? You got to be dangerous against Arnold Allen. So if you can get through there, dude, imagine a Silva-Volkanovski fight. That would be so fun.
It'd be awesome.
That's a great...
Another wild card is Kevin Fachejos, who's facing Giga on the last card of the year this year. Like, that's a fight that I think will get him into the rankings, and he's a guy to watch. He's been amazing so far.
He's not fighting Alex Volkanovski. What are you talking about?
He's not fighting Alex, but I mean, I think that he's a guy that can work himself.
We're talking about the Alex Volkanovski sweepstakes, and I would love to see him have a huge last fight before he goes. But again, Sydney Lopez too could also be it. All right, man. As we wrap up, UFC 323 right around the corner. So next week, you're going to kick off the coverage. I know we spoke about the stuff coming up, but anything else that people need to keep an eye open for as we finish up the year?
Not yet. I think that we're going to see some more fights come down for that card in Sydney. I'm curious if they're going to add another title fight for the co-main event.
Who do you think? Who would you like to see in that co-main event spot?
I just don't know how many title fights are available right now. I mean, when you go up and down the divisions, we're at a little bit of a lull right now. I don't think they're going to put Gon versus Aspinall too. I mean, anything's going to have to be the co-main event for Volkanovski, right? So
imagine they put Merab on there.
One that I think could be sneaky, and I don't know if it's viable so close to when they just fought, because we're talking again January 31st. But Zhang Weili against Dern would be an interesting one if they could turn that around, given the proximity of China to Australia. That's pretty close, right? Like it's at least that side of the world.
Oh yeah. Massive part of that's part of the market for sure. That could happen, man. But you know what I would love? I just mentioned it, but I would love to see a quick Merab turnaround against just like a random contender. You know, he's trying to get this whole Volkanovski thing going for himself. put them on the same card. And then, of course, I don't think this is going to happen. But, Yuri and Alex Pereira. I mean, Yuri.
Or what about Alberg?
Alex Pereira and Olberg, sorry.
Yeah.
That's already kind of rumored for another card, isn't it? I see some reports.
I would think so. I would think that
out there.
But of course, they're not going to put Pereira on the co-main event.
Yeah, you wouldn't use that. Yeah, you wouldn't use that card.
Yeah, they're going to headline with Volk, I think. So I think they got to find a co-main event that's suitable for those circumstances. And again, I just don't know if there are that many right now that you can really think of. I think they'll probably just end up putting a big fight on that card.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm looking through the divisions right now. The fighting champions are kind of like Pantoja, Merab. Obviously, like Volkanovski wants to fight, but his schedule's a little bit slower now. You got like Khamzat, who you don't know how often he's going to fight, right? Islam, he's now done until probably the White House card or later. And then, Shevchenko just for Talma Aspinall and Cyril Gane. That doesn't make sense here. That will likely be the next fight there.
You know what they could do as well if again, it would take a while. Like, it would be tough to turn it around because, again, it's just a month. But if you want to, again, stick with fighters from that side of the world, you do Horiguchi against Pantoja if Pantoja gets a good win.
Dude, yeah.
But
that
again,
would be great.
These are all kind of wishful thinking ideas that are trying to think of that region of the world and who would fit for a co-main event. Like, there aren't a lot of Australian or New Zealand fighters right now. Well, you know who would probably be in the co-main event? Israel. I think it's just got to find a fight for Israel. That would make the most sense.
Do you reckon they put him on a co-main? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's perfect because he's not fighting for a championship. He's on with his teammate Volkanovski. I think that would make a lot of sense having him. Or is Whitaker matched up with anybody right now? Like,
Whitaker said he doesn't want to do Feb anymore.
Okay, so Israel would make the most sense to me if you could match up Israel with whether it's like a Sean Strickland rematch or something along those lines at 85.
Dude, I would love a Sean Strickland Israel rematch, but Sean doesn't want that rematch, and I think Israel's moved on from it now.
Israel Brendan Allen.
I think we're looking more like an Israel, like
Kyle Bohalio.
Nah, I reckon it'd be like Israel and like Shara Bullet or something very. Okay. I reckon for Israel, the next fight is going to be quite down the rankings. I don't think. What do you think? That's
Israel MVP. I know they're friends, but that would be a fun fight.
Israel MVP. Yep, I could see that. Or I mean, the Kaya Bahayo fight makes sense, and that would be a great co-main event. Fighting nerds kind of he's always down here, but I feel like they're going to save him for a main event down in Saudi or wherever they fight.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. He's also got his big festival coming up around the corner, Afrobeats or something, the big festival that he now runs. So I think he's really passionate about his music. So we'll see when he even returns. But there he is, Aaron Bronsteter. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I'm excited for next year. Can't wait to chat to you some more about it as we get close to it.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if they're going to do a fight night the week before. I don't think they are. So it's going to be like 4 weeks without a UFC event. Like, the hunger is going to be at an all-time high for that event when it gets started up. I actually like that. I think that they should do that every year. Is like have a 4
Dude, can you imagine
downtime.
Like the water cooler in America,
always
especially
open
where
with
it's
a
all
pay-per-view.
free? Yeah, and everyone's watching it. Man, it's going to be huge. There he's Aaron Bronsteter. Thanks for joining.